Hello, Neil.
Hey, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Where are you?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm in California.
yeah, it looks beautiful over there. Much prettier than here, actually. I have to say, amazing background.
I'm gonna
So,
shut up.
I was wondering how long ago did you film the live action parts? Because I know they recently added in they finished up the stop motion animation and all that. So,
28 years ago.
oh
I
wow.
mean, I can't believe that it has come to this now, and it's much gratitude and admiration for Chris Endicott, who was David Allen, the director's assistant, who has really made this happen with the help of Full Moon and their money, of course, but it's a labor of love as far as he's concerned. He just was determined to finish David's movie. All the live action stuff was done in Romania 28 years ago. I mean, I'd probably forgotten about it, and suddenly I hear it's premiering in Montreal at the festival. So it's very exciting.
Is that pretty much the ultimate gift as an actress to have something like that happen where you think a project is just never going to come out and all of a sudden you have a surprise like this?
Yes, it's well, it's never happened to me before, especially this many years. I mean, I see myself and think, oh my goodness, that's nearly 30 years ago. But I remember the whole experience very, very well. It was a very happy experience filming in Romania with David. It was a wonderful cast, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, it wasn't all easy because filming in Romania that many years ago, I mean, there was nothing to eat to start with. I mean, you went to the market in Bucharest and there was like 3 lettuce leaves on the counter and half a rasher of bacon. I mean, we lived on potatoes, it seemed to me. Fried potatoes, baked potatoes, mashed potatoes, and roast potatoes. No greens.
What were your first impressions when you saw the final cut of the film with all the stop motion animations added in and everything?
Well, it's brilliant. The effects are wonderful, and filming it, you don't see any of that. Of course, you see sometimes half a yeti, or one arm of it. You don't have any idea what it's going to look like in the end, really. Of course, this stop motion animation is, as my husband said, he says it's something creepy about it, which of course is to our advantage in our film. And
I actually prefer it over the CGI. Like I really miss this look. So I really enjoyed this movie because it brought me back to the way films like they used to have this more fun aesthetic. And like I feel the CGI because it just reminds me of PlayStation pretty much when I see modern movies. But like that older aesthetic, like in this film, it just there's something about it that I feel kind of is more dreamlike, more imaginative than a lot of films today, where I guess everything is possible today because of computers. But so I
yes,
really appreciated this kind of aesthetic.
yes, so I'm glad to hear that. And of course there are films that still have used it, but less and less, I suppose, which I agree. I think that's a shame, really. It's a very special technique, and but it's been super. It's like us. Soon we're going to be. AI is going to. They won't need us either. So.
I guess this is a spoiler, but I was really surprised to see what ended up happening to your character. I thought for sure that Claire would make it all the way to the end. But what was it
Yeah.
like shooting that, the character end scene, I'll call it? Yeah.
Yes, it was quite hard, especially as I'd been bitten by a spider and had a very uncomfortable big spider bite on my backside. And it wasn't a comfortable death scene, let me tell you that.
What were your favorite memories from working on this film with the, with the cast and all? Yeah.
Well, I think the camaraderie of being on a location like that, and we did some shooting in Transylvania, which was fascinating. I loved Romania. The cast was wonderful, but it was a hard shoot. We did a lot of night shooting, and we had very bumpy bus rides to locations. But it was an experience, and one of a kind. And David was a wonderful captain, wonderful leader. He was thrilled and excited by the fact that he'd got the film to the point that he had, and we were actually shooting it. It was totally his vision, and I'm just so grateful to Chris Endicott, who's actually finished it for him, albeit decades later.
How
I
about
haven't
that?
been in touch with any of the actors since we filmed, but that so often happens. But maybe I'll see them again at one of these festivals. I hope it does well on its circuit. I believe it's going to be in a festival in Barcelona in October. So
I mean, I think you guys should take a side-by-side shot from like something really similar that you took like 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and now, it
yes,
would be
I
really
think
cool.
so. It's sort of like an awful school reunion.
What was it like shooting that initial scene where they show the Yeti? Like, did you have anything really behind you, or was that added later? Where you're standing and giving that speech really early on in the movie.
Oh
Just
yes,
behind.
no, that was added later. I think maybe there was a part of him, but everything was added later. We never really worked with any huge creature or anything like that. And a lot of it was, of course, in our imagination as well,
Yeah. I was wondering what you thought overall of the script, the way it was structured, because I think it really did reminded me of films like Return of the Jedi with the Ewoks and all that, like kind of little discoveries, how they reveal the aliens and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I suppose it does. It's a throwback. It reminds you of other films that used that technique, and the what?
Adventure.
Oh, adventure. My husband's saying adventure. Yes, we did. We did go to the Italian Alps to shoot all that snow stuff. We did that at the beginning of the film. I mean, the beginning of location.
Was it
And
freezing there?
huh?
Was it freezing there? Because it sure looked
Yeah,
like it.
it was. Well, wasn't actually midwinter, but it was early spring, and it was cold. And that was the first time that we'd all met. The cast all met, and we all came together, and so that was fun. But the actual shoot in Romania was quite hard, and we did a lot of studio stuff as well. So it wasn't all on location, but some of those caves and stuff we worked in, they were for real. And so it wasn't comfortable. Yeah. And spiders.
Why do you think Claire stayed that extra second before she got the arrow at the doorway? Shot with the arrow.
I don't know. Why do you think?
I mean, I thought she was in awe because the Yetis show this kind of humanistic quality that he kind of connected like a bond. I mean, I thought the whole character was kind of patterned off that one woman who used to work with apes. You know who I'm talking about? What's her name?
Oh yes. Who was the woman who worked with apes? Yeah.
She taught them sign language and all that. Like, I thought the character
Yes.
was heavily inspired by that.
Yeah. That's right. Well, it was a wonderful part for me, an archaeologist and a great adventure, and it was I loved filming it, and I was very, very sad when David passed, of course, he was very young, and we used to see him quite a bit after we filmed. But I knew he was very ill, but I didn't think he was going to literally leave the stage. But anyway, he must be very happy now, is all I can say.
What was it like that, when you first heard that David passed, did you know the film is essentially like what happens in that kind of case? The film's just shelved essentially indefinitely, or like does it depend on how finished it is?
What we thought, and because the master was gone, and it was his vision, and he was the technical wizard on it, but he had this great assistant who just Chris Endicott, who just took it upon himself to take over, and against all odds, really, because it still they needed to raise quite a lot of money. It is very expensive, as you know, and without the director, it was shelved for some time. And I thought that was it. I certainly didn't think it would be resurrected, frankly. So it was a great surprise. I only heard, I think, the beginning of this year. Chris contacted me and said that it was finished, and the music and everything, and so it's exciting for all of us that were involved.
Has this kind of thing happened to you as an actress? Were you working on as a project and it was shelved and you never got to? Because I know today there's a lot of shows, that actually do come out and they pull them off the streaming services, and it's even worse because the project is finished and just doesn't get seen. But
yes,
yeah,
yes, no, this I don't think I've ever had this experience before of anything this long. Anyway, I've actually got another film on the festival circuit right now, which called 7,000 Miles, that we shot in Hawaii with Wendy Malick starring. So I've got 2 movies doing the circuit, which is, and that was shot a couple of years ago too. Jane Goodall, that's the name of the woman.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, Jane
Goodall.
Goodall.
It was Jane something.
She was. Yeah, that was very much like my character in a sense. She definitely had an affinity with this Yeti. I mean, she wasn't afraid of it. She was just fascinated and wanted to find it, believed in it, and then of course she found it. They found it, and it's marvelous. It's a marvelous movie for people who like that kind of a genre, and you do, obviously.
I do, yeah. What did you think of the film's messaging about, the alien, the most intelligent one, essentially being killed off and society degenerating to this kind of brutal Roman Colosseum? I think it was kind of a statement on human society as well.
It is,
through it, but...
yeah, and kind of current, right? I mean, it's nothing much has changed in many ways, right?
You mentioned AI before. I was curious what you thought as an actress of this kind of transition into, people are watching shorter and shorter form kind of stuff because of TikTok, and you think eventually people will just not have patience anymore to watch a 2-hour movie or even a 1-hour movie, maybe 20 years from now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The business is changing so much, which of course what this SAG strike is all about, the writer's strike and everything. Everything's different, and we can all be replaced, it seems. I mean, I just did a few episodes of Grey's Anatomy, and I was asking them when I went there, how did you manage with the the COVID protocol and all that? And when an actor went down, did everything stop? And they said, oh, no, we'd get a body double, and then we'd use what we had to voice and face, put the face on. So I mean, it's never mind CGI. I mean, where AI is pretty scary for actors.
Would you ever agree to have your likeness used essentially even when you're not around anymore? Because I've heard a lot of actors have been asked that about like some perpetual
Yes.
eternity. Yeah.
Well, only if you're very well paid for it and you have some say in what you do. I mean, you don't want to suddenly find yourself in a porno movie or something. So- I don't know. It's an unknown quantity, really. That's the problem, or at least one of the problems. So it's a big issue for it. It's like when TV and it's such a big change. That's why these issues have to be really addressed, and we can't just all accept just being replaced.
I know this is a little off topic, but when I was reading your biography, I saw you worked on The Elephant Man, which I've always loved the film. I didn't even know there was a theater production, and I was curious what that experience was like. If you have any memory.
Oh, well, I'm sure. I'm glad you brought that up because The Elephant Man was, well, I met my husband doing that play
Oh
anyway.
wow.
And that was 42 years ago. It was a marvelous play, and it was a huge success in London and New York and everywhere. We did the national tour, the Florida tour of it. It was an extraordinary play, and one of those plays like Equus that was it was illusion more than anything, because the actor playing the Elephant Man, who in my case was Maxwell Caulfield, he didn't have a lot of makeup and prosthetics and stuff the way they did in the film. It just was an illusionary thing, and there was a slight change in the body, and there was a movie screen behind that showed him as he had been, etc. But it was very, very effective, and beautiful film, beautiful play, beautiful music, live cello music in it, and no, it's one of my favorite experiences in the theater, as a matter of fact.
How did your husband approach you in that production?
Huh?
How did your
What?
husband approach you in that production?
Yes, yes,
What do you say? He asked you out for coffee or something?
Yeah, we did have a couple of coffees and a couple of Manhattans, and he held my hand crossing the road in front of the Plaza Hotel, and that was it, really. I did want to mention, of course, as far as Primevals, is Charlie Band, who made this all happen, because of Full Moon supporting the film even after all this time, and raising the money to finish it. And the other thing is that I didn't actually say was, I made a film many years ago, 50 years ago now, we're going even further back, called Beyond the Door, which was a horror movie and very successful, Italian production, filmed in San Francisco, very successful. And it is now, we're making a sequel. We were supposed to be shooting it right now in Vancouver, but of course with the strike we're not. So when you say things coming back around, this is another thing that's come back around for me, is to make a sequel to Beyond the Door, which is playing the character I played originally, which by now she's in a loony bin from all her dreadful experiences with the devil, but it's a good script, and I have a featured role in it, and I'm exec producing it as well. So
could you ever imagine a sequel to the Primevals? I mean, I guess it would have to be a prequel to bring you back, but because there is something, you did speak to Matthew and you talked about his thesis about the Yeti and all that. So
yes, you never know. I mean, nothing's impossible anymore. That's for sure.
What was it like shooting that one scene, by the way, the mugging scene? I thought that was a pretty strong one. You know what I'm talking about?
Which scene?
Where they, you're saved, you and Matthew, Claire and Matthew, and like they're held up. They're trying to rob them. You remember this?
Yeah, well, pretty dramatic and pretty physical, and was it night? Was that a night
Yeah.
scene?
Yeah, it was a nice scene.
Yeah. I remember it being pretty a pretty long, stressful night.
Would you have liked to be at Fantasia for this, or?
I would, yes, that would have been, yeah, because I really want to see the film on the big screen. I think it warrants that now after all these years. So I'm going to wait and watch it on the big screen.
Yeah, and see the live audience reaction stuff. That'll be
Yeah.
awesome. I hope to see you at a future Q&A. Maybe you'll be around New York, for a screening.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be fun. Yes. I'm so glad you enjoyed the film, and you're giving it this podcast, this airing, this plug. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.